Even during his lifetime, Jean Renoir was generally regarded as the greatest of French picture makers, but today, nearly a decade after his death, Renoir, yes, the son of the famous painter, has more and more come to be considered by international critics as the most sublime picture maker, poet of the Western world. 3 of his lesser-known but most personal films are now available in their original uncut versions, never before seen in America. In the autumn of 1937, when Renoir was 43 and his film, The Grand Illusion, was winning grand prizes and popularity from Venice to New York to Hollywood and back, the director himself was out in the French countryside shooting a sweeping yet intimate epic about the French Revolution, La Marseillaise. Flowing smoothly from the court of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette to the crumbling nobility, to the revolutionaries, a painter, a customs clerk, a mason, a dock worker, as they're all swept along by destiny and that Rhine army song that became their anthem and came to be called, because they'd first come from the port of Marseille, La Marseillaise.
Amour sacré de la patrie, conduit soutien à nos braves frangeurs.
It's among the most authentic, documentary-like of historical films, all the scenes and dialogue based on real incidents and people, and was originally financed by subscription. People paid 2 francs on deposit for their ticket. As Renoir called it, a film by the people and for the people. By 1956, that's 18 years later, Renoir's work had moved in quite another direction. As he wrote in his autobiography, after being fanatically devoted to natural settings, I became a worshiper of the artificial, because, he went on, inner truth is often concealed behind a purely artificial environment. And one of Renoir's most artfully artificial pictures was this beautiful color-photographed romantic comedy fantasy, Elana and the Men, set in Paris at the turn of the century, starring Ingrid Bergman as a Polish princess who's broke and so reluctantly agrees to marry an old millionaire, only to find herself torn between love for 2 very different men, an ambitious general played by French star Jean Marais, and a rather lazy dilettante played by Mel Ferrer, with a notable appearance by singer Juliet Greco.
Ô nuit, je te fais le serment. Ô nuit, d'oublier mon amant.
In an interview in the 50s, Renoir said that before World War II, his way of participating in the universe was to try to bring a voice of protest. But by the mid-50s, when Renoir was in his early 60s, he felt that the only thing I can bring to this illogical, irresponsible, and cruel universe is my love. And nowhere is this warm, compassionate love more apparent than in Renoir's 1955 romantic comedy musical called French Can-Can, starring the greatest of French film stars, Jean Gabin, as an 1880s showman based on the life of Ziegler, the man who founded the famous nightclub, the Moulin Rouge, and brought back the Can-Can. Maria Felix plays the Spanish belly dancer involved romantically with Gabin, who also becomes involved with the young laundress dancer played by Françoise Arnoux, with whom 2 other men are in love, a volatile young worker and a foreign prince. The legendary singer Edith Piaf makes a brief cameo appearance. This was the last of 4 films Renoir did with Jean Gabin, whom he adored, and said that Gabin was not one of those actors who needed to withdraw into silence to prepare for a scene. Between takes, Gabin would give recipes to Renoir's wife, Dido. He'd be saying, you take a spoonful of Dijon mustard, and then he'd break off for the next take, play it magnificently, and then go on with the recipe right where he left off. With all the beauty of his father's paintings and that vanished impressionist world, Renoir creates a vibrant, rousing, yet very touching and poetic film, as Renoir called it, an act of homage to our calling, by which I mean show business.